And about the ninth hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. That is, my God, why have you forsaken me? And I want to preach from this thought: God, where are you? God, where are you? Confession, Sister Sharice, is good. Confession is good for the heart, but it's bad for your reputation. And yet I come on this Good Friday confessing that I've never been a fan of amusement parks. I've never really gotten excited when they talked about taking the church kids on a trip to in any amusement park, because I knew that that wasn't my favorite place to be. I really wasn't going to get excited, Keisha, about riding nothing, because I really had a fear of all of that stuff that went up fast, came down fast, went sideways quick, and I couldn't seem to get my equilibrium at any point in time. Now, I'm cool when my feet are on the ground. I'm really cool. I went long as my feet are on the ground. I'm good, but talking about, and I've even flown. I like flying, but it's something about roller coasters and all that other stuff, screaming demon and all. I don't want to be bothered with all that. But one day, Deacon Jones, I mustered up enough courage, and I went to the amusement park many years ago, determined I wasn't going to waste the church money no more, because I was really going to ride something. I wasn't going to just try to win stuff. I was just really going to ride something. I'm confessing, y'all. Be nice to me. And yet, I got on this ride Dr. Arnold called the gravity ride. It was a gravity ride, and I thought it was safe. It didn't do all that swooping and all that. So I'm going to start off slow and ease into this thing. And so I got in this thing, and it's kind of, kind of close, and so it started spinning, and I was kind of on the wall, and it started spinning a little faster. And I was spinning a little faster, and it got darker, and it seemed like the faster it started spinning, the faster it pulled me to the wall. I'm stuck now, Denise, on the wall. I'm like, look, I didn't sign up for this. But as I was spinning and spinning, all of a sudden, the bottom dropped out. I see some of y'all rode that too. And I was cool as long as it was just spinning. I was cool as long as it was spinning a little slow. But then it started going faster and faster and faster. And then they had the nerve to drop the bottom out of that thing. And I said, Lord, if you ever let me get out of this, you ain't never got to worry about me getting in this thing one more again. I'm done. Arrivederci. I'm through with all of this. They can laugh at me, Lance, all they want. I ain't never coming back. But the good news that I held on to while my eyes were closed and I was spinning was that I remembered there were plenty of people outside waiting to get on this same thing that was ravaging my nerves. And Derek, I said, well, if I can just hold on long enough without losing any more of anything else I done lost in here, I think I will survive, because they got to have some other people trying to get on. And if I can just hold on long enough, I think I can make it. Now, y'all got to know I didn't bother. I didn't come all the way across town to talk to y'all about amusement parks and all of that. I really didn't come across town to talk to y'all about this gravity ride. But I came across town to talk to somebody who might have been in that kind of a situation where it seemed like life had caught you up, and it was turning and turning and turning and turning and spinning and spinning, and then all of a sudden the bottom of your life dropped out. I know it's some people in this sanctified place that are either in that place right now or you're on your way to that place. But I came across town to tell you that even when the bottom drops out, there is a God who was hung up for your hang up, and if you can hang on long enough, God will bring you through. Is there anybody here that can testify already this year the bottom of my life has seemingly dropped out? The economic bottom has fallen out. They're talking about I ain't got rights no more to bargain for this and to bargain for that. They want to take what little piece of job that I do have away. But can I tell you, the devil is a lie, because God is your source of your existence. Oh, he didn't die for you to just have a good 3 days on Good Friday, Saturday, and early Sunday, but he died for your every day. Is there anybody here that can testify? He died for my Monday. He died for my Tuesday. He died for my Wednesday and Thursday. This wasn't an eclipse of the sun while he's on this cross. It was the manifestation of the fact that God couldn't look at sin. Oh, Dr. Arnold gave me permission to talk about sin. He introduced the word earlier, so I can go ahead and talk about sin. You know sin. It's the forbidden word in church right now. It's not real popular, but that's the real reason some of us ought to shout every time we wake up. Every time we can look up. Oh, you know what sin is. Spell it, if you will. S-I-N. Can we spell it again? S. Self-inflicted nonsense. That's why you ought to shout, because it wasn't everybody else that got you in what you in. It was self-inflicted nonsense. That's why every time you swing your leg out to bed, you ought to shout, because you know some of the stuff you got yourself in, and somebody had the decency to die for your own raggedy self. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was at the city. Because you got to understand, it ain't because you are so righteous now on your best day that you are where you are, but it's all because of what he did. Notice here that he is hanging on the cross, and he says, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And I don't know how you feel about it, but that's when the psychologist suggests that all of us ought to have an aha moment of awareness. Oh, that's when you should remember you have an oops, I forgot to praise moment, because you can remember all of the things that God has kept you from and saved you from. Nobody ought to have to bribe you. Nobody ought to have to pay you. Nobody ought to have to pump you up, shout you, and run you. For every time you take a breath, your hand ought to go up. Every time you ought to take a breath, something ought to come out of your mouth. Lord, I thank you that the saints of old used to say that the four corners of my bed were not the four corners of my cooling board. I still don't know what a cooling board is, but I just know what they said. I thank God every chance I get, because I know that he didn't have to do it for me. But wait, Derek, look at this. He feels abandoned. The bottom of his life has fallen out. He said, God, why have you abandoned me? Anybody ever been there? Felt like you were forsaken? The Greek word for forsaken means to be abandoned, to be left in dire straits, to be left in a helpless state without resources. Now, I can take Pookie and them leaving me, but I can't take when God leaves me. Is there anybody here? Matter of fact, you ain't got to tap them. Don't touch them. Don't bother. But just speak to them and tell them, is he talking about you? Because see, there's some folk you need to tell go, because as long as they stay in your life, they're going to keep causing hell to keep coming in your life. And yet when God leaves you, all of us in trouble. God, where are you? What do we do when God seems to be absent, when God seems to be missing in action? I came to suggest two things. That is, we must do what Jesus did. What did he do? In spite of a fractured relationship because of sin, he still owns God as his own. He says, my God. He uses the personal possessive pronoun. He says, my God. Even though he and the daddy, they ain't real tight right now, he doesn't stop talking to the Father. I'm going to shout myself right here. God was still the Father and Jesus was still the Son, and yet there is a fracture in their relationship. But yet, even in the toughest time of his life, he still keeps on talking to his daddy. I just came to tell y'all that. Whatever you do, don't stop talking to God. No, don't let nothing come between you and talking to God. Because no matter how you feel, the power of life and death is in your mouth. The saints of old used to say, now let us have a little talk with Jesus. We'll tell him all about our troubles. He will hear our faintest cry, and he will answer. I'm almost there, y'all. Don't hang up yet. By and by. The problem is you've been telling Sister Big Mouth, you've been telling Brother can't keep his mouth shut, all your business, and that's why your business is all over town. Who told it? You told it, because you told a Big Mouth. But if you'd have a little talk with Jesus and tell him all about your trouble, you wouldn't have to worry about it on CNN. What do we do when it seems like God can't be found? We do what Jesus does. He owns him as his own. But then there's a second thing that Jesus shows us as a paradigm for a peculiar, problematic situation. He says, why have you forsaken me? But watch this. Notice, he says, why have you forsaken me? What Jesus doesn't forget, even in the troublesome situation, is the word of God. Notice what he says. He reaches all the way back. Even though this is a New Testament passage in Matthew, he reaches back to the Old Testament and picks up Psalm 22, verse 1. And y'all remember who penned that? Old raggedy toe up David. That ought to help some of you understand that even God can use some of the most messed up of us to help all of the rest of us. He says, my God, why have you forsaken me? Even though he's in the midst of his dark night of the soul, he turns to the word of God. And I'm out of here, y'all, when I tell you, I don't care who you've been turning to in the past. But every problem you have, there is a promise for it in the Word of God. And I don't care what you're facing right now, there is an answer, and it's found in the Word of God. Even though he's going through a rough time, instead of cussing them out, I dare you to pick up the Logos. Because what God will do when you use the Logos, he will use a term called rhema. That's when God gets in the Logos, pulls out a word for you and your situation, and brings it to your pew with your name on it. If it's peace that you